I am sure you have heard of car brands such as Chevy, Ford, and Pontiac, but have you heard of the Dale? It is a car that gets 70 miles per gallon for less than $2,000 in 1974. The average mile per gallon for a car in 1974 was 22, and the cost of a car was around 4,000. The car has a top speed of 85.7 miles per hour. Velvet smooth air shocks, rack, and pinion steering, the type found on race cars. It handles better than the best handling car you know. There are no wires on the dial, so zero chance of electrical malfunction. Everything is operated through a printed circuit in the dashboard. The body and frame are made out of a rocket structural design. So why is this car not in the record books as the best car ever made? Because this car isn't real like my personality.
It was in fact a fiberglass car made out of used motorcycle parts and held together with wood screws. There's only two left in existence. One is in a museum and in unrestorable condition, and the other whereabouts are unknown. A boat driving on the road would be better than this quote-unquote car. So what happened? Our story begins with a man named Dale Clift. During the gas shortage of the 70s, Dale wanted to make a car that was capable of 70 miles per gallon, so he decided to build one.
He built it mainly out of motorcycle parts. He even got it registered as a motorcycle, but it wasn't all that great. It sometimes leaked carbon monoxide into the cabin, and if you're looking for crash safety, it's nearly non-existent. Then he met a 6'2", 225-pound woman named Lindsay Carmichael, who dreamed big and promised Cliff that he would make upwards of $3 million in royalties.
They named the car the Dale, and they started the 20th Century Motor Car Company. Carmichael had promised that the car could withstand 4 times the impact of a Cadillac with almost zero damage, and the Rigidix window could only be pierced by a bullet.
People started getting antsy and wanted to see the Dale in person, so the Carmichael put a Dale on display in the entrance to the building, but put it behind ropes, so the people wouldn't see that the wheels were nailed onto a 4x4 piece of wood, and there wasn't a single functional aspect of the car.
Carmichael said in a giant factory in Burbank there's 100 workers working round the clock to produce 88,000 cars to be sold in the first year. But in fact, there was no factory. No plan of making any cars. It was a scam. With the promise of this car came investors left, right, and center, and it caused the company to get funded by several $1,000,000.
But a photographer from Car and Driver magazine was invited by Carmichael to look at the production of the car, and he saw there was one car which had no gas pedal or steering wheel, and under the hood was a lawnmower engine. Dale Clift then only realized the whole thing was a scam when Carmichael stated that she had crashed a Dale into a wall at 30 miles per hour without being injured, and Clift knew that they didn't have a car that was capable of 30 miles per hour.
Then, out of nowhere, a worker at the 20th Century murdered another, so all of the assets were seized and the police investigation happened, so Carmichael fled out of the state. When the police searched her house, they found wigs, padded bras, and hair remover. FBI caught Carmichael climbing out the window in Miami. After a fingerprint test they found of Lindsay Carmichael was actually Jerry Dean Michael, a criminal on the run since 1961. He had pretended to be a woman for years, and even had a husband.
She was charged with taking $6 million from investors, and she went to a court hearing to be legally referred to as a woman in all further trials, even though she was a man and won. When she was finally convicted and sentenced for jail, she escaped and went on the lam.
She was finally found 9 years later living in a small town in Texas named Dale.